No, it's fantastic for patients, particularly regional patients.
And I hear so many cases locally where people have had to travel away and how hard it is for them and their families.
Absolutely, when you combine that with a constant and chronic shortage of other specialists, GPs in regional areas, that's also, I think, a major problem for us to focus on too.
I agree with that. All right, well, thank you very much, and thanks for letting us see some of your world-class technology here and how we can help make it easier for people who are on the South Coast, and indeed not just here, but we're going to announce 13 of these centres all around regional Australia.
Exciting.
That'll be very good.
Yeah, great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Fiona, yes, I've met you.
Yes.
Fiona, nice to meet you. Bill, you are the second federal member we've had down here. Just after the centre opened in April 2013, we had Tanya sit down, and then we had a Senate delegation, and it all was kicked off by a Gilead government grant.
Isn't that good? Yeah,
so
that's
now we have
good.
this wonderful MRI, and we have pathology facilities. We have 21 GPs working across 3 sites of our region, and so the Queen Street Medical Centre here is a real success story.
It's really nice of you to mention that continuity from Labor. When cancer makes you sick, but it shouldn't make you poor.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, thank you very much for
thanks
coming
for what
down.
you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Best wishes. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Fiona Phillips, Gilmore.
I've got Bill Shorten here, the next Prime Minister of Australia. We're here today. We've got a great announcement here in Moruya. I've got to say they've been coming to Moruya for a very long time now, and what people tell me is that they have to travel so far away for treatment. Particularly with cancer treatment, they have to travel out of the area to Nowra or to Canberra. So we've got a great announcement today that will make a real difference in people's lives. We know when people travel away, they have to travel on the Princes Highway, they have to travel with their families, and it's so hard for people in such a difficult time. So this announcement today will make a real difference in people's lives. So I'll hand over to Bill for that announcement.
Thanks very much. That was Fiona Phillips, Labor's candidate for Gilmore. Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to be back in Moruya. I've been here recently, and also today I come with particularly good news. Last night I said in our budget reply speech, which is the opposition's response to the government, I said in the shadow of the upcoming federal election that Australia needs a vision for helping Australians who are battling with cancer. It's a sad fact that 1 in 2 Australians will be diagnosed with cancer. 145,000 people will be diagnosed this year. Hundreds of thousands of our fellow Australians, including people on this fabulous South Coast, are currently getting treatment for cancer. Sadly, 50,000 Australians will die this year from cancer. It is a curse. So what we've announced is that we want to prioritise helping people in their fight with cancer, because cancer makes you sick, but it shouldn't make you poor. And if you live in this fabulous part of the world, you shouldn't have lesser services, lesser access to scans, lesser access to specialists. Now, why should people on the South Coast have to drive 2 hours to Nowra or 2 hours to Canberra? When you are getting treated for cancer, that's a big issue. And it's very clear that if you don't have to pay the expense of accommodation staying in Canberra, where you don't have to pay the expense and the difficulty of being away from your family, we could provide key services here in terms of radiation therapy. It helps level the playing field, improves the odds of beating the big C. So I'm pleased today, following extensive lobbying by Fiona, that nationally we're going to allocate $60 million to create 13 regional radiation therapy centres, treatment centres, and one of them is going to be right here. We'll put it to tender, but we'll roll it out. What this means is that if you're dealing with the big out-of-pocket costs of cancer, and they are deceptively large, if you're dealing with the travel, the parking, the accommodation, if you've got to go to Canberra, no more. A Labor government that I lead is going to prioritise your fight against cancer over tax loopholes for the top end of town or multinationals. We can afford to make this sensible promise, which helps the cost of living, helps you in your fight against cancer, because we've decided that the health of Australians is more important than giving multinationals or the top end of town unsustainable tax loopholes. I congratulate Fiona on the work she's done. Cancer, I've been overwhelmed in the last 20 hours or 18 hours since we made our announcement for our package of billions of dollars, new Medicare items, cheaper scans, free consultations, free scans, through the bulk billing, through the biggest single investment in our Medicare system since Bob Hawke introduced it in 1983. What has stunned me, and I already knew it, but I didn't realise how cancer touches every family. From the drivers to the cleaners in Parliament House, to journalists and media people, to people I met in the street, to my own staff who I thought I knew well. They've all come forward with stories that cancer is impoverishing. That the Medicare system, as good as it is, doesn't cover thousands of dollars. You know, skin cancer, we're a skin cancer capital of Australia, of the world. $5,000 average out of pockets after the first 2 years. We can do better in this country, but today our commitment to a radiation treatment centre right here is, I actually think, really good news for people who otherwise spending a lot of money, a lot of time and a lot of effort when we need them surrounded by family focused on beating cancer. We're happy to take any questions that people might have.
Mr. Shorten, just on the announcements that were made in the space of cancer treatment, whether it be the scans that are now going to be available to people or the medications on the PBS, is it fiscally possible and financially doable within the constraints of the budget?
Well, it is if you decide to crack down on tax loopholes. This is all about choices. The Commonwealth budget, this Liberal government's raised the most money any government has ever raised in taxation in Australian history. They love to say they're low taxing. Well, here's a tip. They're getting $120 billion more plus than even Mr. Abbott was getting 5 years ago. So these boys and girls in the government, mainly boys, they know how to find the cash. They know how to find the taxes. They've had a lot more revenue than any previous government's ever had. But it's what you choose to spend taxpayer money on which tells you the values of a government. Our proposal is $2.3 billion over the next 4 years. That is a drop in the bucket relatively for what this government's proposing to spend on tax loopholes at the top end. Why should we be giving property investors a tax subsidy for their 6th house when I've got people right here driving 2 hours to Canberra to get life-saving treatment? It's all about priorities. We can afford it. Oh my word, we can afford it. We can reverse the cuts because Labor thinks that healthcare is more important than tax subsidies at the top end. It's as simple as that.